The battle and the spear. The sky was red with smoke. Fire rolled across the battlefield like a hungry wave. Broken banners flapped weakly in the wind, and the ground shook with the sound of falling machines. It was not only a war of blades and spears, it was a war of fire, energy, and screams. Among the wreckage lay a young warrior. Her armor was cracked, her face streaked with dust and blood. She gripped the haft of her spear, but the weapon was no longer whole. The once powerful crystal tip had shattered, leaving only jagged edges. Every breath she took was heavy. She tried to rise, but her legs gave way. Around her, shadows closed in. They were not human. The enemy moved with insect-like speed, their armored bodies clicking as they advanced. They carried blades that hummed with energy, weapons older than the ruins around them. Their red eyes glowed in the smoke fixed on the wounded warrior. She whispered to herself, half in defiance, half in fear. Not yet. Not like this. But she knew the truth. Her people were scattered, her army broken. She was the last one standing, between these invaders and the heart of her city. And she was falling. One of the creatures raised its weapon, ready to end her life. She braced herself, but the strike never came. Instead, a strange figure stepped into the firelight. He was not tall compared to her people, and his armor was strange. Light, not made for war. He carried no weapon in his hands, only determination in his eyes. He was human. The enemies paused, surprised. Humans were not meant to be here. Humans were not part of this war. Yet here he stood. The warrior's vision blurred. She wanted to tell him to run, to leave her, but her voice was too weak. The human looked down at the broken spear lying near her hand. Without thinking, he bent down and picked it up. The weapon was heavier than he expected. The jagged edge glimmered faintly, as if recognizing his touch. He turned toward the advancing creatures, raising the spear clumsily in defense. The enemy hissed, their movement sharper now, as if they sensed something had changed. They circled him, clicking their weapons together, ready to strike. The human tightened his grip. His heart pounded, but he did not back down. He swung wildly, forcing one of the creatures to stumble back. Another lunged, but he blocked the strike, the broken spear sparking as it clashed against the enemy's blade. The human moved awkwardly, without skill, but with desperation. And sometimes, desperation was enough. From the ground, the girl warrior watched in shock. Her people's law, it could not be. It should not be. Yet she had seen it with her own eyes. The spear had been broken, her hand had left it, and another had raised it in her defense. The ancient law whispered in her mind, whoever takes the weapon of the wounded and becomes the chosen. Her breath caught. No, she thought, not him, not a human. The human shouted, driving the enemies back with a reckless charge. His arms burned with pain, but he refused to drop the spear. He swung again and again until the creatures pulled back, snarling. They hissed one final warning before retreating into the smoke, their red eyes fading into the haze. Silence fell. The human lowered the spear, panting hard. His hands trembled. Slowly, he turned back to the girl warrior. His face was streaked with ash, his eyes wide. "You're safe now," he said, his voice rough but steady. "I've got you." She stared at him, her chest rising and falling in disbelief. Did he not understand what he had done? Did he not feel the bond that had just been sealed? The law was older than stone, older than the ruins they fought upon. It was written into the blood of her people. To take the weapon of the fallen was not an act of kindness. It was an oath. It was destiny. Her lips trembled as she forced out the words. You shouldn't have done that," the human frowned. "What do you mean?" But before she could answer, her body gave in to exhaustion. Darkness pulled her under, and the last thing she saw was the human still holding her broken spear. He stood alone in the smoke, unaware that with one simple act, he had bound himself to her forever. Unaware that he was no longer just a stranger. He was now her chosen one. The ancient law. The fire on the battlefield had faded to ash, but the silence was worse than the screams. The human sat in the ruins, holding the broken spear close to his chest. His knuckles were white, his breath heavy, and his eyes searched, the smoke-filled horizon for any sign of movement. The girl warrior lay unconscious beside him, her pulse faint but steady. He had no idea who she was or why those creatures had attacked her, but he knew one thing. He could not leave her here to die. Carefully, he pulled her across his shoulders, the broken spear still clutched in his hand. Her armor was heavier than he expected, her weight dragging him down, but he pressed forward, step after step, through rubble and flame until he reached the shadows of the ruined city. He did not notice the eyes watching him. From the edges of the broken towers, from the cracks in the stone walls, her people watched. Hooded figures, silent, and still as statues, their gazes fixed not on the girl, but on the human carrying her weapon. One of them whispered, his voice sharp as a blade. "The law has been invoked," another hissed. "Impossible. He is not one of us." "The law does not care what he is," a third said. "The weapon chose him." The human knew nothing of their whispers. He only knew he had to find shelter before the creatures returned. He found the entrance to what looked like a temple, its doors shattered, its walls cracked with time. Inside, moonlight spilled through a broken ceiling, illuminating carvings on the stone. The carvings told a story he could not understand, figures raising spears, kneeling warriors, flames devouring cities. Strange symbols spiraled across the walls, glowing faintly as he stepped inside. He lowered the girl carefully against the altar at the center. Her face was pale, her lips dry, but she stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "You," she whispered, her voice weak. "You should not have touched it." The human frowned. "What are you talking about? I just—" Her hand shot out, gripping his wrist with surprising strength. "The spear," she said. "You raised it." He looked at the weapon still in his hand. To him, it was just a broken stick with sharp edges. "I picked it up to protect you." Her eyes darkened. "And by doing so, you bound yourself." "Bound myself?" She leaned back, her breath shaky, but her voice carried weight. "There is an ancient law, older than kings, older than these ruins. When a warrior falls, their weapon must fall with them. If another takes it in their place, they are chosen. They are bound as protector, servant, and—" She paused, her throat tightening. "Destiny." The human blinked, trying to process. "Wait, you're saying because I picked this up, I'm stuck protecting you?" Her gaze locked on his, sharp despite her weakness. "Not stuck, chosen. Do you not understand? That law cannot be broken. You are my chosen one now." He laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "That's crazy. I'm no warrior. I don't even belong here. I was only trying to help." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Help has a cost." The temple's carvings glowed brighter as if responding to her words. The human stepped back uneasily, the spear vibrating in his hands. He dropped it. But the moment it hit the stone floor, light pulsed from its cracks, crawling up his arms like veins of fire. He cried out, stumbling, but the light did not burn. It bound. The girl watched in silence, her expression a mixture of fear and sorrow. "It has accepted you." He gritted his teeth. "What does that mean?" "It means," she said, her voice trembling, "that your fate is no longer your own." Before he could answer, a sound echoed outside the temple. Heavy footsteps, claws scraping against stone. The human grabbed the spear instinctively, holding it close. The moment he touched it again, the glow steadied like it belonged in his hands. The girl's eyes widened. "They will come for you now. They will not allow the prophecy to breathe." "Prophecy?" he demanded. But she gave no answer, only stared at the shadows forming at the temple entrance. Figures stepped inside. Not insect creatures this time, but tall warriors in cloaks, their faces hidden. They carried staffs marked with the same glowing symbols. The leader lowered his hood, revealing eyes as cold as stone. He looked at the girl, then at the human, and finally at the broken spear. "It is true," he said, his voice deep. "The law has chosen." The human raised the weapon defensively. "Stay back." The leader's lips curved into a grim smile. "Do you not know what You hold, outsider. Do you not feel it burning through your blood? That weapon is no tool, it is the chain of destiny, and now you are caught in it. I don't want this, the human snapped. The leader's expression hardened. That does not matter. Want has no place here. The law is older than will, you are bound until death. The girl tried to sit up, her voice breaking. Leave him, he does not understand. But the leader ignored her, his gaze fixed on the human. Listen carefully, stranger. You are the chosen one now. Your path is written, and paths like yours. He paused, his eyes darkening. They end in blood. The human's grip tightened on the spear. For the first time, he felt the weight of what he had done. Not just the physical weight of the weapon, but the crushing pull of something greater. Something he could not escape. The girl's words echoed in his mind. Help has a cost. And he knew, deep in his chest, that whatever destiny awaited him in this broken land, it had already begun. The unwanted bond the night was long and restless. The human sat by the broken altar inside the temple, the strange spear leaning against his shoulder. His hands would not stop trembling. He had faced death on the battlefield, but this was different. This was not fear of dying. This was fear of being trapped in something he could not control. Beside him, the girl warrior stirred, waking slowly. Her wounds had been bandaged by her own people, who had arrived silently in the dark. They had not spoken to him, not even looked at him directly, but every time he caught their eyes, he saw it. The weight of recognition, the silent bow of respect mixed with something colder. Fear. When the girl opened her eyes, she looked at him first, then at the weapon in his hands. Her face tightened. You should not keep it. He let out a bitter laugh. You think I haven't tried? Every time I drop it, the damn thing pulls me back. He held the spear out, shaking it angrily. It glows. It hums, it feels alive. Do you understand? How insane this is. She sat up, her voice quiet but sharp. It is not insane, it is the law. The law, he repeated, glaring at her. Your law, not mine. I never agreed to this. I never asked to be anyone's chosen one. Her eyes softened, though sadness lingered there. That is why the bond is cruel. It chooses for you. He stood, pacing, his voice rising. I don't belong here. I was only trying to help, that's it. I didn't come to be some prophecy puppet. Before she could answer, the sound of footsteps echoed through the ruined temple. A group of her people entered, tall and armored, carrying lanterns that cast pale light across the stone walls. They bowed their heads to the girl, but when they looked at him, their faces hardened. One of them stepped forward, his voice sharp as a blade. So it is true. The spear has bound itself to the outsider. The girl rose unsteadily, leaning on the altar. He did not know. He does not understand the law. Law does not bend for ignorance, the warrior spat. The bond is sealed. He is yours now. His gaze shifted to the human, full of disdain. A human, fragile, weak, and this is the one fate gives us? The human clenched his fists, heat rising in his chest. He wanted to throw the spear at their feet and walk away, but when he loosened his grip, the weapon pulsed with light, refusing to leave him. He cursed under his breath, tightening his hold again. The girl's voice cut through the tension. Enough. He is bound. Whether you like it or not, the law accepts him. The law accepts no one else. The warriors exchanged uneasy glances. Then the leader spoke, his tone low and dangerous. If he fails to protect you, you will die. If he falls, you will fall with him. You know the old words, child. Chosen and chosen one. One fate, one death. The girl's face paled, but she did not look away. She knew those words. They were etched into her bones. The human froze. Wait, what did he just say? She closed her eyes for a moment before whispering, Our lives are tied now. If you fall, I fall. If I fall, you follow. His stomach dropped. You mean, if one of us dies, the other dies too? She nodded slowly. He staggered back, running a hand through his hair. This is insane. This is... No. I can't do this. You have no choice, she said softly, but her voice shook. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating, until it was broken by a distant horn echoing across the ruined city. The warriors stiffened, exchanging alarmed looks. They are coming, one hissed. The girl turned to the human. The enemy will test you now. They will come for me because killing me will kill you, and killing you will kill me. The human's throat tightened. So either way, they win. Her eyes hardened with determination. Not if we fight together. But he shook his head, his voice raw with anger. I never wanted this bond. I never wanted your war. And yet, she whispered, staring at the glowing spear in his hand, the war has chosen you. The horn sounded again, closer this time. Shadows moved at the edge of the temple light, strange shapes, fast and hungry. The warriors drew their blades, but their eyes flicked again and again to the human, as if he were the true weapon, not them. Their whispers crawled like poison through the air. He is not ready. He will fail her. If he dies, so does she. This is a curse, not salvation. The human heard every word. His chest burned with shame and fury. He wanted to shout at them, to tell them he wasn't their savior, to tell them he wanted none of this, but deep inside a voice whispered what he did not want to admit. He could not walk away anymore. The girl looked at him, her eyes steady despite the fear around them. Chosen one, she said softly, though her voice carried like thunder in the silence. Our enemies come. You can hate the bond, you can hate me, but if we fall here, both our lives end. So fight. Fight not for destiny. Fight to survive. The human lifted the broken spear, its glow spilling across the temple walls. His hands trembled, but he did not lower it. Outside, the shadows screamed. The unwanted bond had only just begun. Secrets of the prophecy. The temple shook with the sound of battle outside. Shadows hissed and clashed with the warriors guarding the broken gates. The girl leaned heavily on a column, her body weak, but her eyes sharp, while the human gripped the glowing spear, his jaw tight. He had no plan, no training, no destiny, and yet every time his fingers wrapped around the weapon, he felt something inside him stir, like an echo of another life, another memory that was not his. The girl saw it too, the way the spear seemed to fit in his hand, the way the glow pulsed with his heartbeat. Her chest tightened. She knew what it meant, but she dared not say it. Not yet. As the battle raged, an elder entered the chamber. His hair was white, his cloak torn, and his staff burned with the same strange symbols carved into the walls. His eyes found the human immediately. So it is true, the elder whispered, voice both awe and dread. The law has chosen. The human glared at him. I don't want your law, I don't want your prophecy, I want answers. The elder walked slowly toward the altar, running his hand across the old stone. His fingers brushed the ancient carvings, the figures kneeling, the warriors holding spears, the cities burning. The carvings glowed faintly at his touch. You want answers, outsider? Then listen well, for the story you have stepped into was written long before you breathed your first breath. The girl stiffened. Elder, not here, not now. But the old man ignored her. His eyes never left the human. Our people once stood as kings of this world. We ruled the skies, the oceans, the very stars bent to our will. But pride was our ruin. We made war on the old gods, the beings of fire and shadow, and they cursed us. He tapped the wall, and the carving shifted with the light, forming new shapes, warriors kneeling as fire consumed their cities. The curse was the law, that no warrior may rise alone, that their life would be bound to another, chosen by the weapon itself, protector and protected, chosen and chosen one. If one falls, so falls the other. The human's stomach nodded. So, you're telling me, this bond wasn't made to save you. It was made to punish you. The elder's eyes darkened. Yes, and yet from punishment rose prophecy. It was said one day, A chosen one would come who was not of our blood, one who would not just fight for us, but change the curse itself, free us, or doom us. The girl's breath caught. She had heard whispers of this prophecy as a child, tales told in secret, but no one truly believed them. Until now. The human shook his head. I'm not your savior. I don't even belong here. I'm just... The spear pulsed in his hand, interrupting him, glowing brighter than before. The carvings on the wall lit up in answer, the symbols burning like fire. The chamber filled with light, and the air vibrated with a sound deep and ancient like the voice of the earth itself. The elder dropped to his knees. The prophecy awakens. The girl's heart pounded in her chest. She wanted to deny it, to reject it, but she could not tear her eyes away from him, from the way the spear glowed as if alive, from the way the temple itself seemed to bow to his presence. The human staggered back, terrified. No, this isn't me. This can't be me. The elder's voice was low, trembling. You do not understand, outsider. The prophecy is a blade with two edges. The chosen one will either save us all, or bring the final ruin. The girl's eyes snapped to him, her voice sharp. What do you mean? The elder turned, his face pale. If he fights with us, our people may rise again. But if he turns against us, if he rejects the bond, the curse will twist, and both chosen and chosen one will die. And when they fall, so falls the last of our kind. The chamber fell into silence, broken only by the muffled screams of battle outside. The human's chest heaved, his thoughts racing. He looked at the spear, at the girl, at the glowing walls. The weight of it all crushed him. So no matter what I do, someone dies. The girl stepped forward, her voice steady though her hands trembled. Not if you fight beside me. Not if we face it together. He laughed bitterly, though there was no joy in it. Together? I didn't choose this. I didn't choose you. Her eyes darkened with hurt, but she did not look away. And do you think I chose you? You are human, a stranger. I would not have wanted this bond either. But the law does not bend for want. It only binds. The elder raised his staff, his voice heavy with finality. Then remember this. Every step you take now is not your own. You carry the fate of more than yourself. You carry her. You carry all of us. And prophecy does not forgive failure. The chamber doors shook violently as claws tore through the wood. The shadows had found them. The warriors outside screamed in defiance, but their voices were already falling one by one. The human raised the spear again, his hand trembling. His throat was dry, his chest tight, but deep inside something cold and unyielding began to rise. If he was bound to this fate, then so be it. But as the spear flared to life in his hands, another thought burned in his mind. Hot, dangerous, and undeniable. What if I don't save them? What if the prophecy is right? What if I destroy them instead? And in that thought, the bond grew heavier. The prophecy had begun. The betrayal. The enemy outside the temple had been pushed back but not destroyed. Their screams faded into the smoke of the ruined city, promising they would return. Inside the shattered chamber, silence weighed heavier than stone. The human lowered, the glowing spear, his chest heaving, sweat dripping from his brow. He had fought, bled, and somehow survived. Yet when he looked at the faces of the girl's people, the warriors, the elder, the silent council who had entered after the battle, he saw no gratitude, only suspicion. They whispered among themselves, their eyes sliding toward him like knives in the dark. He did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. Doubt, fear, hatred. Finally, one of them spoke aloud. His voice was sharp, cutting the silence. We cannot allow this. The girl stiffened. He fought for me. He saved me. Without him, I would be dead. The man's gaze hardened. And because of him, you may yet die. Do you not see it, child? The prophecy does not promise salvation. It promises a choice. And that choice lies in the hands of a stranger. The elder lowered his head. His voice was heavy with sorrow. "The bond cannot be undone. To kill him is to kill you." Another warrior stepped forward, his face full of bitterness. "Then let them both die. Better the girl and the stranger fall together than all of us be doomed by his hand." The words echoed through the chamber like a death sentence. The girl's face burned with anger. "You dare speak of killing your own? I am sworn to defend this city. I am sworn to defend all of you, and yet you are bound to him." The warrior spat. "Every step you take now is tied to a human, a weak, untested creature. What will you do when he fails? What will you do when the prophecy twists? Will you drag us all to ruin because of him?" The human felt his fists clench. He wanted to shout, to tell them he never asked for this, that he never wanted to be their chosen. But the words stuck in his throat, because deep inside, a darker voice whispered, "They are right. You are not ready. You might fail her. You might doom them all." The girl stepped between him and her people, her broken spear lifted in defiance. "If you touch him, you touch me. If you strike him, you strike me. The bond is life and death. You know this. So choose wisely, counsel. Will you kill your protector, or will you stand with him?" The warriors faltered, but their eyes stayed cold. Later that night, the human could not sleep. He sat alone in the ruined courtyard, the spear glowing faintly by his side. The city stretched out around him, dark towers, broken streets, the distant fires of war. He could feel eyes on him even in the silence, watching, judging. The girl came to him quietly, her steps light despite her injuries. She sat beside him, her gaze distant. "They will not forgive this bond," she said softly. "Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Not ever." He glanced at her. "Then why protect me?" She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Because I do not fear you. And because the law does not lie. It chose you for a reason." He let out a bitter laugh. "Maybe the reason is to destroy you." Her eyes darkened, but she did not flinch. "Then let me be destroyed beside you. Better that than living chained to fear." Before he could answer, the sound of footsteps stirred behind them. Shadows moved through the courtyard, figures cloaked in black, slipping silently between the broken columns. The girl's hand went to her side, gripping the jagged haft of her spear. "Assassins," she whispered. The human grabbed the glowing weapon. Its light flared, casting the shadows into sharp relief. Figures leapt from the darkness, blades gleaming. Not enemy creatures this time. These were her own people. The betrayal had come. They attacked swiftly, their faces hidden, their voices silent. The human swung wildly, blocking one blade, then another. Sparks flew, steel against the strange glow of the spear. The girl fought beside him, moving with the fluid grace of a warrior despite her wounds. Together they stood back to back, surrounded by the very people she had sworn to defend. One of the assassins hissed as their blade struck the spear, sparks burning across the stone. The prophecy must not be fulfilled. The bond must die here. Human's chest burned with fury. "I didn't choose this," he shouted, driving the spear forward, forcing one of them to stumble back. "I never asked for your prophecy." Another assassin lunged for the girl, but she deflected the strike, her voice like steel. "And I never asked for your betrayal." The fight was brutal, but brief. The assassins were skilled, but the glow of the spear burned against them, forcing them back. Finally, with a cry, the last shadow fled into the night, leaving the courtyard drenched in blood and silence. The human stood panting, the spear humming in his hands. His eyes met the girl's. Both knew the truth. This would not be the last attempt. Her people feared him more than they feared their enemies, and fear always led to betrayal. The girl placed a hand on his arm, her voice low but steady. "They will keep coming. They would rather kill you than risk the prophecy." He swallowed hard. "Then we can't stay here." She nodded, her face grim. "No. From this moment forward, you are hunted, not just by the enemy, but by my own people as well." The human looked down at the glowing spear. It pulsed in his grip, alive, binding him tighter to a fate he did not want. And for the first time he realized the prophecy's cruelty. He was not just her protector. He was also her curse. The last battle. The dawn never came. Smoke swallowed the horizon, and the sky burned red as if the sun itself had been set on fire. From the high walls of the broken city, horns sounded, a deep, bone-shaking sound that echoed through the stone. Like thunder. The human stood beside the girl, his hands gripping the broken spear so tightly his knuckles ached. He could see them, an army spilling across the ruins like a tide of shadows. The creatures were back, not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. Their insect-like armor shimmered in the firelight, and their screeches rose like a storm. The city was surrounded. The girl's people rushed to the walls, their armor glinting, their weapons ready, but their faces were pale. They knew this battle was not just another fight. It was the end. The girl looked at the human. Her voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed the weight inside her. If we fall here, the prophecy ends with us. If you fall, I fall. And if I fall, the bond drags you with me. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. Then we don't fall. But deep inside, fear gnawed at him. He was not a soldier, not a chosen hero. He was only a man who had lifted a broken weapon in desperation. Yet here he stood, expected to fight an army, expected to carry a prophecy written in blood and stone. The elder approached, leaning on his staff. His voice trembled. The prophecy speaks of this day, the day when the skies burn and the shadows rise. The day when the chosen one takes his true form. The human glared at him. And what if my true form is nothing? What if I fail? The elder's eyes darkened. Then we all burn. The horn sounded again. The enemy charged. The first wave struck the walls like a black storm, climbing with claws and ropes, their weapons glowing with unholy light. The defenders fought bravely, blades cutting, spears piercing. But for every creature that fell, 3 more took its place. The human and the girl fought side by side at the gates. She moved with deadly grace, her broken spear haft in her left hand, her dagger in her right. He swung the glowing spear clumsily but with raw strength, blocking, striking, forcing the creatures back. Every time the weapon clashed, sparks of light burst into the air. The spear pulsed brighter, as if feeding on the battle itself. The human felt the energy burning in his arms, filling his chest, flooding through his veins like fire. But the bond cut both ways. Each time he was struck, pain flared across the girl's body, and each time she bled, he felt the wound as if it were his own. They fought together, but they suffered together too. Hours felt like minutes. The ground was carpeted with bodies, the air choked with smoke and blood. Still, the enemy pressed on. Still the horns sounded. The council gathered at the inner gate, their faces twisted with fear. One of them shouted above the roar of battle. He is the reason they come in such numbers. The prophecy draws them. Kill him, and the curse may break. The human heard it. The girl did too. The assassins from before now stood openly among the council, blades drawn, not toward the enemy, but toward him. The girl stepped between them, her voice like thunder. You will not touch him. But the council leader snarled, his eyes wild. If he dies, the prophecy dies with him. The human's chest burned with rage. He was fighting their war, bleeding for their survival, yet still they looked at him as a curse. The assassins lunged, and in that moment, as steel flashed toward him, something inside the human broke, or perhaps something inside him woke. The spear blazed in his hands, brighter than the sun. A shockwave burst from its jagged edge, knocking the assassins back, shattering stone, shaking the very walls. The carvings across the temple towers lit up like fire, and the sky split with a sound like thunder. Every eye turned toward him, friend, enemy, and traitor alike. The spear was no longer broken. The crystal tip had reformed, glowing with raw, untamed power. Ancient runes crawled across the shaft, alive, burning. The human stood at the center of the storm, his eyes wide, his chest heaving. He did not understand what he had unleashed, but he felt it. The weapon was no longer just a tool. It was a voice, a presence, and it was awake. The girl stared at him, awe and fear in her eyes. "The spear has chosen you fully." The elder dropped to his knees, whispering words of prayer and dread. "The prophecy is here. The destroyer or the savior. Now the choice begins." The enemy hesitated. For the first time, the tide faltered. The creatures hissed, stepping back, their glowing eyes fixed on the human. They knew this power. They feared it. But the human himself felt no triumph, only terror, because as the weapon's power surged through him, he heard it. Whispers, dark and cold, curling in his mind. Voices older than stone. Voices of the gods, who had cursed this people long ago. "You are bound. You are chosen. You are ours." His knees buckled, his hands trembling, but the girl grabbed his arm, steadying him. Her voice was fierce, dragging him back from the whispers. "Stay with me. Do not let them take you. Fight for yourself. Fight for us." The human's breath came ragged, his chest burning. Around him, both armies had frozen, watching, waiting. With one choice, he could end it. Save them, or destroy them. And as the spear pulsed in his grip, its light blinding the battlefield itself seemed to hold its breath. The last battle had begun. The end and the truth, the battlefield was silent. Both armies had frozen, eyes locked on the human standing with the glowing spear. Smoke curled around him, broken walls crumbled at his feet, and the girl stood close, her hand gripping his arm, steadying him. The weapon pulsed with light, alive, whispering in his mind like 1,000 voices. "Save them. Destroy them. Save them. Destroy them." The human clenched his teeth, sweat pouring down his face. The whispers burned like fire in his skull. Each voice pulled him in a different direction. He saw visions, cities rebuilt, children laughing, and then fire, ruins, oceans of blood. Both futures waiting for his choice. The girl's voice cut through the storm in his head. "Look at me." He turned. Her eyes held no fear, only truth. "You are not the prophecy. You are not a curse. You are you. And that is enough." The way, whispers screamed louder, angry at her words. The spear flared, shaking the ground. The enemies hissed, the council trembled, the elder prayed. Everyone waited for his hand to decide the fate of a world. The girl gripped his wrist, forcing his gaze to hers. "I was taught the law means chains. But standing here with you, I see the truth. The law never chose you for me. It chose me for you. Not as master, not as servant, but as equal. Do not let them twist you into their weapon. Choose for yourself." The human's chest burned. Her words broke through the noise, through the whispers of gods and prophecy. For the first time, he realized the truth. The law had never been about binding one life to another. It was about unity, 2 lives becoming one. Strength through bond, not chains, but choice. The voices inside him shrieked, "You are ours. You are bound. Destroy them." He raised the spear high. Light blazed across the battlefield, so bright the enemies shielded their eyes. The runes across the shaft burned, the crystal tips splitting into streams of fire and lightning. Power like the heart of a star roared in his hands. And then, he slammed the spear into the ground. The earth shook. A wave of light tore across the battlefield, sweeping over both armies. Enemies screamed as the light struck them. Not burning, not killing, but unraveling. Their armor cracked, their bodies broke apart into smoke, their screeches fading into silence. One by one, the creatures dissolved, vanishing into the air as if they had never been. The defenders fell to their knees, shielding their faces from the brilliance. The council cried out, fearing the end. But when the light faded, the battlefield was empty. The enemy was gone. Silence fell. The human staggered, the spear still glowing faintly in his hands. His chest heaved. his arms trembling. He looked around, expecting ruins, expecting blood. But the city still stood. The walls held. The people were alive. He had not destroyed them. He had saved them. And yet, as the glow dimmed, he knew the truth. It was not his victory alone. It was theirs. His and hers. Without her, the whispers would have devoured him. Without her, the bond would have been chains. The girl stepped closer, her eyes shining with quiet strength. She placed her hand over his on the spear. "It is done." The elder rose slowly, his voice shaking with awe. "The prophecy, it is fulfilled." But the human shook his head. His voice was hoarse but steady. "No, the prophecy was never about me. It was about us." The girl met his eyes, and for the first time she smiled, a real smile, small but unshakable. "Then let them write a new law, not chosen by gods, not by curses, chosen by us." The warriors bowed their heads. The council looked away, ashamed. For all their fear, for all their betrayal, the truth stood, clear. The bond had not doomed them. It had saved them. The human and the girl walked through the broken gates together, side by side. The city was scarred, but alive. The people watched in silence, their gazes no longer filled with hatred, but with something new. Hope. At the edge of the battlefield, the human stopped, looking back at the ruined temple, the empty horizon where the enemy had vanished. He tightened his grip on the spear one last time. For a moment he thought he heard the whispers again, faint and distant. But this time he did not fear them. Because he was not alone. The girl's voice pulled him back. "Come. Our story isn't finished. This is only the beginning." He looked at her, at the bond they shared, at the future they now carried together, and for the first time since lifting the broken spear he felt no fear, only strength. Together they walked forward, warrior and human, equal and chosen, not by prophecy, not by law, but by choice. The curse was broken, the bond was reborn, and the story of their people began anew.